Welcome everyone to the speed learning event, All You Need Is Love, and our celebration of Kim Lerner as we transition to adult Jewish learning at Temple Kol EmanuEl, powered by IJKL, the Institute for Jewish Knowledge and Learning. And we are happy to have Rabbi Uri here for our first session. So take it away, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you. It's great to see all of you. I have one question, Scott. Do you have this print to share?
Yes, I do. You're ready for me to do that?
Yeah, just I would say 2 words and then we go, okay?
Okay, give me the signal.
Yes, and we have 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can, but also entertaining and learning something and not to rush it, right? To go fast and not rush could be a contradiction, but we are going to try to do it. Yeah, I truly believe that we can go throughout the Jewish calendar and being able to summarize each one of the Jewish holidays with one word. Maybe if we say easy one, right? We say Passover, we say freedom, right? Maybe if we talk about Shavuot, we talk about Torah or learning or revelation. When we talk about Rosh Hashanah, it's about judgment. It's about forgiveness. Maybe Yom Kippur is that the name of that. So each one of them have a source. Yeah. And one of the not so well-known Jewish holidays is what a lot of people call the Jewish Valentine Day, right? That, if you pay attention, is very interesting enough, is the last holiday before Rosh Hashanah. We are only 9 days away to Rosh Hashanah, and Tu B'Av, the 15th of the month of Av, that's what Tu means, Tet Vav is 15, the 15th of the month of Av, we celebrate this holiday that a lot of people title the Day of Love, the Jewish Valentine Day. And it's interesting where it comes. Just, let's start with this idea. It comes in a moment of the year where mostly there's not so many Jewish holidays, right? We have busy seasons in the Jewish calendar. One is during this springtime, okay? And the other one is during the autumn, right? Fall and spring are the busy seasons of Jewish holidays. During the summer, we don't have too many holidays. Just before the summer, we have Shavuot, and then we have we have the 9th of Av, yes, Tisha B'Av, that's the day that we remember all the tragedies throughout our history. And the rabbis understood that we cannot finish the year of that being our last holiday. If we wouldn't have Tu B'Av 6 days after Tisha B'Av, the last Jewish holiday before Rosh Hashanah would be the most tragic day of Jewish history, when we remember all the tragedies. That could not be, it's just ending with a bad taste, right? With a bad flavor in our mouth. So the rabbis instituted a holiday that is known as Tu B'Av, the 15th of the month of Av. And we are going to learn today why we're going to be, and many others, it's not only a day of love, but it's a little bit more. So let's go, Scott, with the sources. Okay, can you enlarge it for everybody to see better? Can you do it bigger? Can you or not, Scott?
Right here, I think I can do it somewhere. Here we go. How is that?
That's for me it's good. If for everyone it's good. Okay. So as I told you, Tu B'Av is not a holiday that appears in the Torah. doesn't appear in the Tanakh, doesn't appear in the Jewish Bible, appears for the first time ever in the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, we are talking about late 2nd century, early 3rd century of the Common Era. In the Mishnah, in Tractate Ta'anit, says as follows: Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, there were no days as joyous for the people of Israel as the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. Usually when you talk or you think about joyous moments of Jewish history, joyous holidays, you can say Purim, you can say Simchat Torah. Nobody will say Yom Kippur today or Tu B'Av. But maybe another day we can learn why Yom Kippur is a joyous occasion. Even more like Purim, even more than Purim, even more than Simchat Torah. But let's deal with Tu B'Av. But the rabbi says that the two most joyous days of the calendar, Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. On these days, the daughters of Jerusalem would go out in white clothing, borrowed, so as not to embarrass anybody who did not own white garments, and dance in the vineyards. So this is the scene. On Tu B'Av, apparently, it was the day of all the bachelors and the bachelorettes, anybody that was not engaged, that was not married. It was the day to go and look for your partner. And how it was? In the beautiful vineyards that surround Jerusalem, the men were waiting there, and at sunset, all the women of the people of Israel came in white garments. Why white? It's a symbol of humility. It's a symbol of simplicity. It's a symbol of purity. So they all came like this, and what happened? What would they say? Young man, lift up your eyes and see what you chose to yourself. Do not focus on the beauty, rather focus on the family. For grace is false and beauty is vain. A woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So she said, hey, we are all here. All the women from the people of Israel are here this evening to try to find our perfect match. Okay, it was like a big Tinder meeting in the valleys of Jerusalem. And at that moment they say, do not pay so much attention of our physical aspect. Look at us, look at our families, look at our souls. And it says, give her of the fruit of the hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. So this is the scene. This is the scene. The first time that we hear about Tu B'Av is this Mishnah. 2nd century, 3rd century of the Common Era, 1800 years ago, give the date. So for sure, we can understand why this could be considered the day of love, our Valentine's Day, right? We can understand that. Why is that? Because we are talking about a day when men and women are going to meet and find their perfect match. Today, if you open any TV channel, any streaming channel, you have dozens of TV shows about your perfect match. Tu B'Av was one day a year to find your perfect match in the Jewish people. It's a day of love, a day of engaging. But the question that you may have, maybe Scott, Karen, Sandy, Jackie, Deborah, someone should have, if you are a well-learned Jew, is what was so special of the 15th of Av to be chosen as the day to do the perfect match, the bachelorette of the Jewish tradition? What was so special about that? Why that specific day? So then, if you go a little bit down to the Talmud, so the first layer of Tu B'Av is the Mishnah. The Talmud, 100, 150 years later, asked this question. What happened on the 15th of Av that prompted the rabbis to declare that day as this day of love, of connection? So I simplify what the Talmud says here, starting on the A. Can you go up, Scott, a little bit so A appears first? Thank you very much. Okay. So the rabbis say that 6 things throughout history occurred on a 15th of Av. And for that reasons, the rabbis decided to declare that day this joyous occasion of love and connection. The first one is that the tribes of Israel permitted to marry each other. What do I mean by this? So you know what, Scott? Take out this source sheet because it's going to be confusing. I would rather teach, okay? So the Talmud says in Tractate Ta'anit 30b that 6 things happen on a Tu B'Av in history. The first one is that all the tribes were able to marry each other. I don't know if you know, but according to, as the rabbis understand the Torah, at the very beginning of history, at least the history of the tribes, you could only marry someone from between the tribe. So if you were a man from the tribe of Judah, you can only marry a woman from the tribe of Judah. If you were a man of the tribe of Zebulun, you can only marry a woman from the tribe of Zebulun. Why was that? This was before entering and conquering the land of Israel. Because Moshe and Joshua lotted the land according to the number of people in each tribe. And it could be the case that, let's say, the father of one of these families from the tribe of Dan died, but the wife of that man was from Naphtali. So who do we give this land to? Dan or Naphtali? So in order to avoid this confusion, you can only marry between your own tribe. Once we conquer the land, we settle the land undivided, a 15th of Av, this restriction was uplifted. Yes? So the first thing that happened at 15th of Av, related to love, for sure, is that you could choose much more people to marry with. Because if not, if you are from the tribe of Zebulun and you do not like any of the girls from Zebulun, you are screwed. You could not go to Naphtali, Sachar, Dan, Benjamin. No, that was your option. Now we have more options. The second thing that they say that happens on a 15th of Av, according to the Talmud, is that the tribe of Benjamin is allowed to come back to the community. There's a terrible story in the book of Judges, in the book of Shoftim, about a war. Someone from the tribe of Benjamin committed an atrocity, and then all the other 11 tribes went and fight a war against Benjamin. And for a while, they did not allow the women, the survivor woman from the tribe of Benjamin, to marry with all the other tribes. They did like a ban. They did like a cherem to the tribe of Benjamin. Because of the terrible thing that they did not allow anybody of the rest of the tribes, even though at that moment they were already allowed to marry with other tribes. They say everybody except from Benjamin because of the terrible thing they did. But what happened? At 15th of Av, this ban was lifted. So now the 12 tribes, including the tribe of Benjamin, that was excluded at one moment, are allowed to be part and come back to the Jewish fold. Are we okay? Number 3, and I need to run, but not rush. Remember, run, not rush. They say that the generation of the wilderness, Dora Midbar, stopped dying at 15th of Av. There's a story that God declared in the second year when we left Egypt that everybody who was above the age of 20 were going to die in the desert. But nobody knew. Today we know that it was 40 years. They didn't know. they needed to wait until everybody who was above the age of 20 when they left Egypt to die. They didn't know if that was going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. We didn't know. So what do? Every 9th of Av, the 9th of the month of Av, each Israelite above the age of 20 when they left Egypt would dig a cave. Would dig a cave. And they will go to sleep over there. And if they were awake the next morning, that means that wasn't their year. They were going to live the next until 1 more year. And on the year 40, everybody dig the cave. They went to sleep over there, and the next morning everybody was awake. So they say, okay, maybe we err for a day. So another day. Says, hey, nobody's dying. What's going on? Another day, 6 more days until the 15th of Av. And the 15th of Av, they say, nobody died because now we are all allowed to enter into the land of Israel. So the 15th of Av also came to be that day that the Israelites assume nobody else is dying from this generation. We are able to enter into the land of Israel. Reason number 4 for celebrating this day of love unto the Av. There was a king in Israel known as Jeroboam, that he rebelled against Solomon's son. So the kingdom divided in two, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And he was the king of the northern kingdom, Jeroboam. But the problem was that in the south kingdom was the temple of Jerusalem. So all the Jews from the north wanted to go 3 times a year to the temple. And Jeroboam did not want his people to go to the enemy now, to the other Jewish kingdom. So he put a roadblock. So all the Jews from the northern kingdom could not go to offer the sacrifice on Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot in the temple. But one of the last kings of the northern kingdom, whose name was Hoshea ben Elah, on a 15th of Av, lifted that roadblock. So look at all these stories. Stories about much more than love, right? It's not only love. Beautiful and important things happen on a 15th of Av. Now, everybody who wanted to go to the temple, there were no more roadblocks. If you wanted to be part, you can be part. The brothers who were separated by a war between north and south, stop. They were able to go. The 15th of Av also was the last day that they cut wood for the altar. Usually the wood, you do not cut it during winter or during rainy season. Why? Because it's going to be what? Wet. So you need to cut all the wood that you're going to need for the next year for the altar to be totally dry, the wood. And when do they do it? In the peak of the summer. Which day is the peak of the summer? The 15th of Av. Then we start going all the way to the fall. So that was the last day to cut the wood for the altar for the next year. And last but not least, the 6th reason that the Talmud gives is that this day, the 15th of Av, the soldiers of the Jewish army of Bar Kokhba who died fighting in Betar were granted permission to be buried by the Romans. When the Romans defeated the Jews in the war of Betar, they did not allow them to be buried as a punishment for rebelling against the Romans. But on a 15th of Av, the Jewish community got permission from the Romans to bury the Jews. So this is the 15th of Av. in a nutshell. And today, even though that I love the idea of Tu B'Av of being a day of love, and here we are saying, right, the name of this session of study of this evening, this afternoon is All You Need Is Love. And it's a beautiful song, but sometimes you need a little bit more than love. And I think that the first story from the Mishnah about is beautiful, but these 6 reasons behind the reason why the day of love is celebrated this day is even more beautiful, because it talks about what really involves to love. Today we have a idea of love, a very romantic idea of love, a very Hollywood type idea of love, but love is much more. So Scott, can you go to the conclusions of my source sheet so I can share with you just to finish, and then for sure please share it with everybody that was part. Sure. I will move here because I have lights behind. Yes, okay. Can you hear me and see me? Okay. Yes, go to the bottom. Okay. Let's try to zoom in. So this is my take, my friends. And I'm sorry that today we are running. I try not to rush. 7 themes of Tu B'Av. All you need is love, yes, but something you need a little bit more. 1, celebrate love with the one you cherish. Just as the daughters of Jerusalem dance in the vineyard, Tu B'Av is a reminder to celebrate the love we share with others. Number 2, reconnect with those from whom you have grown distant. Like the tribes reuniting with Benjamin, take this time to repair relationship and seek forgiveness. 3, allow your heart to open again. The liftings of the ban of the tribal marriages reflect the importance of opening ourselves to new possibilities, even when we have been hurt. 4, remember that you are alive and life is worth celebrating every day. The end of the death in the wilderness reminds us to cherish life and its opportunities for growth and renewal. Number 5, tear down the barriers that separate you from those you love. The removal of the roadblocks of Jerusalem encourages us to break through the emotional and physical walls that keep us apart from people that we love. Number 6, bury the thoughts and feelings that hold you back. The burial of the victims of Betar is a metaphor for letting go of the negative emotions that prevent us from moving forward. 7, live knowing that some opportunities won't return for a long time. The season of wood cutting teaches us to seize the moment and complete our task while we have the chance. Thank you, Scott, for sharing. We can close it. So we try to hurry, but not to rush, and to get a little bit, a quick idea of for me, humbly, the main ideas behind Tu B'Av, that is a day of love, but love understood in a Jewish way, that is more than just saying I love you, more than just giving roses or chocolate, or the romantic movies from Hollywood. Is a day of deep connection. And for me, the main word of Tu B'Av is not love, but reconnecting, and being able to connect with different things. So I'm over 2 minutes, and I don't want to get admonished by this. So thank you for being here, and hope to see you soon again. Shavua Tov, and if I don't see you, Shana Tova Umetuka.
Thank you, Rabbi Lee.
So the next teacher should be here in around 3-4 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Bye-bye. Okay, very good. You're in time.
So when am I on?
You're alive, you are there.
Ah,
They
great,
have you.
great.
Everything is set, okay?
Thank you very much, Rabbi. I already see some familiar faces. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm assuming that the people who I can't, why do I have to sit like this? The sun's right in my eyes. Yeah. I don't understand. I'm sorry, this is not an ideal situation. I can't really see. Oh, that's better. Okay, hold on. So welcome, everyone. No, again, I don't know why it's not centering the way I would have it center. So just close your eyes. I'm not changing my look. You don't really need to see me. So we're going to talk about loving God. And I apologize. Some of the people who have been studying with me on Friday morning for the past 4 years have heard some of this, but it's hopefully it's helpful. I want to start by telling you about a 4-year-old boy who believes that his parents are all powerful because he's a 4-year-old boy, and that's certainly appropriate. And one day, this 4-year-old boy gets a terrible stomach virus, very painful stomach ache, vomiting. And he looks at his mother and says, but not in these words, not in spoken words, but you know that it's in his head. He says, "Mommy, make this stop. You're the mommy, make this stop." And the mother responds in unspoken words and says, "I'll hold your head and I'll clean you up and I'll put you in bed and I'll cuddle with you and I'll rub your tummy and I'll kiss your kepi and I'll promise you that everything will be better tomorrow, but I can't make it stop." And at that moment, the 4-year-old boy has to transfer his faith in his mother's power to his faith in his mother's love. And as we go through childhood, we have to do that. We have to transfer what is initially our faith in our parents' power and make it faith in their love. I tell you this because when someone says the word God, we talk about God, for a lot of people, it conjures up the image of power. That God is very powerful. God is all powerful. But the truth of the matter is that in Judaism, God is not all powerful. God can't be all powerful because I have free will. God can't know when I leave this room whether I'm going to turn right or left or what the consequences of that decision would be. And God can't do anything to stop it or deal with it because then my free will is not really free. But we don't have to be philosophical about it. If you go back into the Torah, into the book of Genesis, into the creation, the very first chapter, the creation of Adam and Eve, what's the first thing that God says to Adam and Eve? You don't have to know this by heart, I'll tell you. What's the first thing that God says to Adam and Eve? Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, okay? Which is essentially God saying, I want you to become creators as I am a creator. And master the earth and subdue it and rule the earth. The very first sentence out of God's mouth is God ceding power. God is not interested in power. God is not all powerful, and in fact, God is not interested in power. So the question becomes, if God is not interested in power, and he really isn't, please forgive the masculine pronoun. If God is not interested in power, then what is God interested in? So for this, we go back to the beginning of the first chapter of the Torah, very first line. In the beginning, God created. Well, why? Why would God create? And Jewish tradition, a lot of it coming, I think, from the mystical tradition, but widely accepted in Judaism, is that God created because he was lonely, but not like lonely like I need a play date or I need to go to a bar. Like an existential loneliness. God exists, but there's nothing else there. So God's existence is meaningless. It's the tree that falls in the forest. If no one heard it, then it didn't make noise. So God has this existential loneliness. There is nothing but God, and so God exists, but his existence has no meaning. And so God decides to create in order to enter into a relationship that will give God's existence meaning. So God, which by the way, Judaism will later call love. So God does what everyone who wants to be in love does. The first thing God does is contract himself, make himself smaller, so that there's room for someone else. I mean, we all do that. When we decide that we want to be in love, we have to make ourselves smaller. I'm not just talking about closet space. I mean, we have to make our ego smaller because there has to be room for somebody else to participate in life and to have an element of control. Okay, and this is what God is doing. God's making God's self smaller in order to create a being with whom God can have love, and therefore God's existence will have meaning. And so God creates this world, and ultimately Adam and Eve. But here's the thing. In order for God to engage in love, there had to be two elements of this creation that were very important, essential. The first is that the human being had to have free will. Because in order for me to be in love with someone, they have to be able to not be in love with me. I mean, I can't be in love with a robot that's programmed to say, I love you. I have to create something. I have to be in relationship with someone that has the power to reject me if they want. Because only then will their acceptance of me be meaningful. So it's very, very, very scary if you're God. You has to create us with total free will. The other element, which is really deeper, is that the world in which God created us had to be imperfect. Because love cannot exist in perfection. Now that sounds counterintuitive, but it's not, and I'll explain it. If I did everything my wife wanted me to do on time, the right way, exactly the way she wanted me to do it, I'm like laughing, okay? But if I was able to pull this off, I did everything my wife wanted me to do on time, exactly the way she wanted me to do it. And I gave her everything she wanted, exactly everything that she wanted, exactly how she wanted it, exactly when she wanted it. Everything was perfect. And she would look at me and say, I love you. I actually don't know that you love me. Do you love me? Or do you love the perfection? But the fact that a day doesn't go by in which in some large or small way, I don't disappoint my wife, and the woman still looks at me and says, I love you. She loves me, because she certainly did not like what I was doing at 2:30 this afternoon when she sent me to the supermarket and I messed it all up. Once there's perfection, love is actually rendered meaningless. It's a very deep idea. And on some level, it's painful, because it means that God had to create a world for us in which there were hurricanes and cancer cells and all kinds of imperfections, which are random, but they have to exist if the goal is love. And God is, by definition, powerless, because the moment that God would perfect the world, then the possibility of love is undermined. It's very difficult, very deep. But this is the essence of Judaism. How much time do I have? I'm so bad. But this was supposed to start at
You have till 5:25, Jeff.
till five. I have till 5:25. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. This is the essence of Judaism. It's not about the power. It's about the love. And I guess in the last few minutes, let's read a prayer, the quintessential Jewish love prayer, because in it, we see that this is not so simple. I'm going to read it to you. It may be that I could share, but I have never seen this computer in my life, and I don't know how to share.
Jeff, I have your document if you'd like me to share something.
Oh, yes, please. Could you please?
Yeah, where are we?
Set page 2.
Got it. Okay, one second.
It's headed Siddur Ashkenaz weekday Shachrit, blessings of the Shema.
Here we go.
Perfect. Can you make it a little bit bigger so that old people like me can?
How's that?
Well, now it's too big because that's
How's
good. Thank you. So this is a prayer that we say every morning, and there's a parallel to it at night. And we say this every day, no matter what day it is, 365 days a year, right before we say the Shema, in the morning service and in the evening service. Okay? And I'm going to read it, we're going to do it quickly. With unbounded love, you have loved us, Adonai, your God. With great and abundant, pity is the wrong word here, but grace. You have been gracious to us. Our Father, our King, for the sake of our forefathers who trusted in you and whom you taught statutes of life, so too be gracious to us and teach us. So with great love, you have loved us. And how do I know that you love me? You teach me. You give me over Torah. You give me over wisdom. Now, what's happening here is that they're talking about the first of two different kinds of love. There's a love that we'll call parental. It's really a natural love because it involves siblings, but it's love relationships that are natural, meaning I didn't choose my children didn't choose me, I didn't choose my sister didn't choose me. Okay. But we're in this love relationship with my children. And how is that love generally expressed? With wisdom, with guidelines, of course, depending upon the age of the child, with rules. That's how one knows. That's how I mean, they don't usually think about it when they're younger, they just get pissed off. But if you think about it, that's how you know somebody loves you. The most loving word that any parent ever said ever is no. I always told children, if you meet a grown-up and they tell you that you can do anything you want, run away, because they don't care about you. The people who care about you, the people who love you, will tell you that this is right and this is wrong. And that's how you're actually going to know that they love you. You might be angry at them. You might wish that they didn't say no. But that is the love. And that's what this prayer begins with. God, I'm in this relationship and I know that you love me because you gave me a Torah. You gave me wisdom. You gave me instructions. You gave me rules. You told me that certain things are right and certain things are wrong because I'm in this imperfect world, and navigating an imperfect world is tough as hell. And I'm in this world where everybody has free will. And so who knows how anybody's going to use their free will for me or against me. So I need the wisdom of my parents. I need the rules. I need someone to love me through this world. And that's how the prayer begins. But as it progresses, can you scroll down a little bit, Scott? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. I'm wearing the wrong glasses. For those of you who studied with me on Friday, you know that having the right glasses is extremely important. But if we go like, I don't know, 7, 8 lines from the bottom, because you who perform acts of deliverance, you have chosen us from among all peoples and tongues, and you have brought us close to your great name. Now here, the prayer hints at a different kind of love. Because there is the love, there is a natural love, but then there is something called the love of choice. This is spousal love. My wife and I are in love because we chose each other. And it's only in that love of choice that anyone can ever find intimacy. You don't stand naked before your children or your parents, I mean, once you're a grown-up, or your siblings. Naked both really physically, but naked spiritually, naked emotionally. The only one with whom we are exposed entirely is the love that comes from choice. And while this prayer progresses, we move from a kind of love that we need to have with God, in which we call God our parent, but then it introduces to us this other idea that God, we also play the role of being chosen. And I know that being chosen doesn't sit well with some people, but you got to understand where it's coming from. To be chosen means to open up the opportunity of an intimate relationship. Love, by definition, is an exclusive enterprise. If you love everyone, then you love no one. You choose me in the hopes that I will choose you back. And once that happens, then the possibilities of exploring the depth of love become possible. And this is really what you can stop this screen share. And I'm not going to move because I have like 3 minutes, so I don't want to waste the time. But I'm sorry, I'm not much to look at anyway, and the sun is moving, so it wasn't this glary when I started. Actually, the sun doesn't move. Sorry, we moved. Sun stayed still. But the essence of Judaism is navigating this complex nature of love, that there is a part of us that needs the love of a parent, not an all-powerful parent, not a parent in whom we have faith and power, but a parent in whom we have faith and love, which means we're not always going to like all of the things that God is going to tell us to do or not to navigate this world. In the same way as our children, our teenagers, and even sometimes our adult children. They don't always respond to the wisdom that we have the way we would like them to. But it's our job to be wise. It's our job to be instructive. It's our job to love them. And that's how we express that love. Not by saying, go do whatever you want. And we need a God that has the role of a parent. And by the way, I saw Karen, there's nothing that God can do either. That's the point. God is not all powerful. But we also have the possibility of a relationship with God that transcends the rules. I shouldn't say transcends rules, it doesn't replace the rules, but it goes farther than that. It allows us to have conversations, to you know, for those of you who are familiar, Rabbi Akiva, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, used to speak about hitbodedut, and just private time with God, to spill our soul, to spill our guts in a way that we couldn't talk to anybody else in the world. And to think about, because we often don't think about, how does God feel when I do this or I do that? How am I making God feel? You know, when you make love to your lover, you have to make love the way the lover wants to be loved. You can't just go make love, whether it's verbal or physical. You can't just go make love the way that feels good to you. You have to love your lover on your lover's terms. So this idea that I can sit and think, how is God feeling about me? Am I making God happy? Am I making God satisfied? That's a level of love that is introduced by this notion of chosenness, and walking through life knowing that I'm the parent, but I'm the child, but I'm the spouse, is really what makes the study of Torah, I think, and the living of Judaism really fascinating. And I have to go. I'm sorry, we only have more than 20 minutes. I mean, only have 20 minutes. If anyone would like to pursue this, I'm pretty easy to find. I have an email address that Kim can give you, that anyone at IJKL can give you, and I would love to hear from you, and I would love to continue the conversation offline. But I got to go. I really got to go. They're being very strict here. So be well, everyone.
Thank you, Rav Jeff.
Let me see if this won't be, I'm gonna move it like this and hope that it will be better for the next person. I have no idea where I'm going. This is a very big building.
You're going to the ballroom, according to what I have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, take care, be well. You should call.
Yeah.
Rabbi David is next. He can make the earth move. Or the camera, probably. Feel free to talk. You have 4 minutes, 3.5.
It's so interesting.
So are these people rotating, or are they talking to the group at the same time as on Zoom?
So there's 4 rooms. We're one of the rooms, and 4 teachers. So the teachers are rotating rooms. So everybody stays in their room. It was like when you were in junior high school or something. I don't know.
So they have to repeat their lecture, their drush 4 times?
Yeah, so maybe by the last time they'll get it right. I don't know.
But wait a minute, why are they not just in one big room in person?
You'll have to ask someone higher than me.
I mean, I know it's not any of my business, but
Well, it would be 2 rooms because we would have to,
yeah.
but no, they wanted to make it a little like smaller groups,
Oh,
I guess.
It's
Yeah,
so
because what did they say?
interesting.
They had 80 people. So they have like
Oh,
not counting us. So they have 20 some people in each
In
room.
each room.
well,
Yeah,
they could have had it in like a big room and then have
Well,
Zoom, and then they talk to Zoom and everybody hears.
no, but those hybrid things don't work. They didn't want to do a hybrid and
Oh, I see.
stand over in the corner on a table and we wouldn't
Yeah.
really hear what everybody was saying.
right.
So that was the reason for the decision. But Devora, next time you run one of these, you can do it.
I'm driving. I can't run anything.
I didn't mean today.
Yeah. Your mind just keeps working
I know.
no matter what.
Well, it's good for
Well,
you to be aware while you're driving, at least aware of something.
well, it's amazing that my driving is happening at the same time. It's keeping me company.
Good. It'll make it go faster. Look who's sneaking in.
I don't know. I saw somebody.
It was Rabbi David, I'm sure.
Oh,
Hey,
there he
Rabbi David.
is.
What the heck's the camera?
What?
Oh, it's using this camera. Well, that's annoying. Hi, guys. Wait, I need to rearrange this. I'm not in my regular studio.
Uh-oh.
You all hear me?
Oh, oh, he turned off his camera. Could you close my door, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Well, no, that's not good. Hold on. There we go. See, now
Okay.
we switched to this. I don't know why I did that. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rabbi David. You may start whenever you want, and when you want me to screen share, just say the word.
This is so professional. Hold on, I gotta get my timer out. Okay. Wait, so who's here? Look at all these people. Hi, Nita. Hi, Michael. Hi, Devora. Oh, God, Devora, do not look at me. Keep your eyes on the road. Dear Lord. Okay. Well, this is fun. So, hi, everyone. So, this is nice. I'm not really sure what we're going to learn today. Well, no, I mean, I have some ideas. I have the concept of a lesson. I've I've thought of, so here's what I know. I know that God revealed God's self. And I know that that happened at Mount Sinai, and that we're supposed to think about that when we pray. That's one thing. It's one thing with three parts. Right. God revealed God's self, and we're supposed to think about that when we pray. It's one of the big ideas. The other thing that I know is that love is a really big part of how we imagine our relationship with God. The thing that I don't know is how those two fit together. So that's what I hope we might be able to explore today for a few minutes. So before we screen share, some of you have seen this before. So these are the three big ideas of prayer that we're supposed to think about: creation, revelation, and redemption. We've talked about those before. That middle one, revelation, that's the one we're focusing on. And there are prayers that are associated with each of those big ideas. But before we do that, let's just start with revelation. What actually happened at revelation? How do we imagine what that was like? So let's go ahead and share the first text, or it's actually the second page. I'm not sure what it will look like when we bring it up. And what I brought for you, God, this is Zoom is amazing. So what I brought for you, and yes, and Scott's amazing too. So I brought for you one verse from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus. Vayotze Moshe et ha'am likrat ha'elokim mina machaneh vayityatzvu b'tachtit ha'har. This one verse is sort of the beginning of how we understand what it might have looked like at Mount Sinai. Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood bitachtit hahar. Bitachtit hahar, it means in the underneathness of the mountain. And that's going to become important in just a second. But go with me for a moment. They stood at the base or in the underneathness of the mountain. So the next piece that we have is two different midrashim that try and build upon this verse and tell us what it looked like. So Sandy, can I pick on you? Would you be willing to read this text from Shabbat? Are you able to see it well enough to read it for us? You just have to unmute. And if not, I'm happy to read.
No, with Sandy. Me,
Oh my goodness, there are two?
at least.
Well,
I'll
okay.
read.
All right, you're hired.
And they stood, that one? And
Yep, and they
at
stood,
the-
exactly.
Okay, and they stood at the bottom of the mountain, Exodus 19:17. Rabbi Avdimi, the son of Hama, the son of Hassa said, this teaches that the Holy One, blessed be he, held the mountain over them like a barrel and said, if you accept the Torah, it is good. And if not, here shall be your grace. Rabbi Chabar Yaakov said, from here, there is a great claim against the Torah. Rav said, even so, they accepted it again willingly in the days of Ahasuerus, and it is written, Esther, they upheld and accepted. They upheld what they already accepted.
Thank you so much, Sandy. All right, so this is kind of famous, so I think a lot of you are probably familiar with this. They stood at the bottom of the mountain. That's the verse that we just read from Shemot. And this midrash says, what does that mean? Well, it teaches us that God literally took the mountain, picked it up, turned it over, and held it over their heads, pointy side down, and said, so you want my Torah? That raises a whole bunch of problems. Now, the good news is that the same midrash comes along to fix at least one of those problems, right? And the problem it fixes is the problem of the fact that if this is true, we accepted the Torah under duress, which will not do us any favors when we're dealing with heretics and people who are trying to disprove, the authenticity of Judaism. If all they have to do is say, this is bubkis, you accepted this all under duress. Like it's ridiculous that you would follow any of these laws or that you would believe that you have free will or anything, right? They could challenge anything. There's a fix. And the fix is in the book of Esther. Because in the book of Esther in chapter 9, after all of the killing is done, there's a verse that says they upheld and accepted. What did they uphold? What did they uphold and accept? The Torah. Again, they did it again. They had a do-over, and this time they accepted it, not under duress. And I think that we have taken this idea and we've put it into practice, particularly in the Reform world, when you think about bar bat mitzvah and confirmation. Bar or bat mitzvah, 9 times out of 10 is done under duress. The kids do not want to be there. They're forced to be there by their parents. It's miserable. It's just a terrible experience all around. But then the Reform movement introduced this idea of confirmation, where people could, a couple years later, they're a little wiser, say, you know what? I actually meant it. They can reaffirm all the stuff that they said when they said Asher Bachar Banu, that God chose us, and they can reaffirm all of that when at their confirmation. So in some ways, Purim became the antidote to Shavuot. Shavuot, which was when we accepted the Torah under duress, Purim comes along and says, we got you covered. Don't worry about it. So this is one image of what happened at Mount Sinai, which between you and me, it's not the prettiest image. I mean, it's just kind of icky. Let's look at another one. Yeah, let's look at another one. I don't know, Karen, do you want me to pick on you? I have a limited view of who I can see. Again, I'm not in my usual setup, so I'm sorry.
It's fine. Where did you want me to read?
Oh, Karen, thank you. Will you read the Mechilta to Rabbi Yishmael, which is the
Yes.
third text on the page? Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sure. Rebbe said, this is to convey the praise of Israel. For when they all stood upon Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, they all accepted it with single heart to receive the kingdom of heaven joyously. I am Hashem, your God. Why is this stated? Because he appeared to them upon the sea as a warrior who fights. As it says, Hashem is a man of war. He appeared upon Mount Sinai as an elder full of mercy.
This is great. So this is a midrash asking the question, wait a second. Why do we have the first commandment? I am Hashem, your God. I mean, don't they know God already? Didn't they meet God in the plagues and at the sea? And I mean, they've been schlepping around with God for the past 9 months. They built a tabernacle to God. Don't they know? Well, they haven't built the tabernacle yet, but don't they know God already? And the answer is that this midrash gives us they do, but they know God as an ish milchama. There is a terrible light on my face. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Sorry, I can't see anything. Did not make it any better. And now you can you see me?
No, you're there you are.
Yeah, see, that's what I get for touching stuff.
David, all the teachers said the same thing.
All right, well, that's okay. That's what I get for touching stuff. I have no idea where the camera is now, so forgive me for not looking directly at you. We did know God, but the God that we knew was an ish milchama, a man of war. That's literally the word that is used in Shirat Hayam, in the Song at the Sea, which is fine for over there. I mean, we needed a man of war over there when we had to escape Egypt and Pharaoh was coming after us. Like, I'm fine. I can accept that God was a man of war over there. But what the Midrash is saying is that now it's time for you to meet a different kind, not different kind of God, a different aspect of God, a different side of God. And the side of God that you're going to meet now is sort of an elderly man or woman, maybe a mother or a father or a teacher. They put their arm around you. Come, sit down, bubula, have some chicken soup. It's okay, right? It's this a kinder, gentler God is what we're seeing here. A God of mercy. And we see this with the two names that are used, Hashem and Elokeinu. Those two names represent these two images of God. So here we have these two experiences, or these two imaginings of God. And now the prayer book comes along and gives us a third. So we're not going to read these, but if you just look at the right here where it says revelation as love, and thank you so much for scrolling that up, Scott. You see there are two prayers here. The first one, Ahavat Olam, which is way at the top there, that is from the evening service. The second one, Ahava Rabbah, is from the morning service. If you remember those three big ideas that I shared with you, creation, revelation, redemption, each one of them has prayers that correspond to it, and that's how we think about them during the service. So creation has the Baruch Hu and the prayer that comes after it. Redemption has the Michamocha, and then Revelation has these two prayers, Ahavat Olam and Ahavat Rabbah. So Ahavat Olam, you probably know, Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, or what's the other tune? Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, and then Ahavat Rabbah is Ahavat Rabbah Avtanu, right? So we don't have to know much to know what these are about. You have to know one word. The first word. The first word is what is
Ahava.
it? Thank you. Ahava. Love. The famous statues that are in all the different cities, right? The Aleph Hey Vav Hey, or the Love, the famous love statue. So Ahava, love. In the first prayer, it says Ahavat Olam. If you ever need a really good Hebrew word, this is a really good Hebrew word. Olam. It's a great Hebrew word. So olam means unending, but it means it in two different contexts. It means it both temporally and spatially. So it's olam, like forever in time and forever in space, whatever that means. When we sing Adon Olam, right? God is the master of all time and the master of all space. So God is this everlasting, unending love for us. And Ahava Rabbah means great or unbounded. God has this unbounded love for us, this great love for us. And the first prayer continues on telling us how we know this, or how does God show us this love? It says Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim, Torah and mitzvot and commandments and laws and all that other stuff, otanu limata. You taught them to us. So the prayer book, when we're supposed to be thinking about that big idea of revelation, says, here's how you know. Here's how you know that God revealed God's self to you, because you feel God's love. There is a connection between love and revelation. So here's where this leads me. It leads me to the therapist, because now I'm wondering, this connection between revelation or revealing oneself and love, how does that play out in my life? There are parts of myself, there are parts of ourselves that we hide from others, that we don't reveal. Does that mean that either I'm not able to fully love them or they're not able to fully love me because I've chosen not to reveal myself to my partner, to my children, to my friends and family? Like how does that play out? And then on an even more challenging level, maybe, there are parts of myself that I have fully suppressed. I have just pushed them to they are out of sight, out of mind. I don't even reveal them to myself. Does that mean that I can't fully love myself until I accept all that there is to reveal? Or until I reveal all that there is to reveal? Is my love of myself somehow inhibited? What do you think? Is there a connection between how much we reveal ourselves and how much love we're able to give or receive? What do you all think? Deborah, eyes on the road. Deborah, eyes on the road. I see you looking for the mute button. Scott, could you maybe mute her so that she doesn't, dear God. I mean, unmute her. I meant unmute her, sorry. I don't know if it's gonna let us. It's not gonna let us.
No, they have not let me do that.
No, I can,
My God,
I
okay,
assure you, I'm on a road that has no one. There's one car here with me.
just
I
promise
don't
me,
take chances.
Just promise me you're being safe, please.
I am. I swear, this is a 4-lane highway. And
God, that did not make it any better. Okay. Go.
so my answer is that I think it's an evolution. It's a process. And as we learn more about ourselves.
She's cutting out. Yeah. Devorah, someone in one of the other classes said something which may be similar, and correct me if I hope I'm not putting words into your mouth, but she said that the problem with revelation is that it's never done. And that who I reveal myself as today is not who I will be tomorrow. And I can't berate myself for not having for not being fully revealed, because it's impossible. Michal, I see you shaking your head. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it's an evolution.
Yeah.
I think it's an evolution. It's like peeling an onion.
Yeah, very much so. And by the way, I think love is also.
Yes, that's what I said at the beginning.
Yeah. Thank you. You were cutting out. That's beautiful, Devorah. Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in and share your thoughts here? And again, I'm sorry I'm not looking at you. I think that's the camera I'm using, but I need to see your faces.
I just think that it's like our job to keep doing it. And if we aren't evolving, then we aren't really living.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there may be people that want to stay the same all the time, or keep things the same. But anyway, I've enjoyed listening to this and thinking about it.
Yeah, my concern, Karen, is not, I mean, I'm very concerned about change. I think it's vitally important. But in this case, it's less about change and more about sharing who I am and the vulnerability that takes. Right. Not that it takes, that it, I mean, I can't think of something more vulnerable than to have to be really honest about who I am. It's just terrifying. And yet there's this really powerful and maybe challenging connection that the liturgy makes between the love that we're able to experience from God and the revelation that God shares with us, and maybe also the revelation that we share with God. Not that God needs us to reveal ourselves, because God, of course, like galui v'yadui, lifnei Hashem kisech v'dachad, like it says, we are fully known to you. But there's something powerful about us revealing ourselves. I know our time is up, Scott, by the way. I'm just kind of waiting for someone to come kick me out of here.
Right.
But, and if anyone else wants to share anything, I'd love to hear what you think. Right.
Thank you, Rabbi David.
Scott, thank you so much for managing all of this.
I'm doing my best, and also you probably want to be on time for your next session, don't you?
Nah, I don't really like those people. I like you people.
Oh, that's what you see all the classes.
God forbid, that's all the classes. Wishing all of you such love and blessing, and God, this light is so harsh. And just enjoy the rest of the day. Right, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Oh my
you.
goodness. Thank you. See you soon, everyone.
I would love to go through life the way Rabbi David does. The wishes that he thinks and how silly he is and appreciative.
He's a fabulous teacher, I think. And he's fabulous at technology too. He is the Torah tech guy.
I actually met with him twice recently as the Torah tech guy.
Oh my gosh.
And I learned new stuff. I needed to learn new stuff about
Yeah.
Zoom screen sharing.
Right.
And he's amazing.
Oh, here's they're all
There's some sunlight here.
Rabbi Mark, you are the fourth rabbi to have remarked on that. It's been
Okay,
kind
well,
of a problem.
I'm gonna change the angle of the computer though, so that we can compensate for that. Can you still see me?
Now we can, but you kind of glare behind you. The
Oh, so you actually want, okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to go back to the sunlight. Is that what you're saying?
we see you better there, but if you're not seeing, then that's not good either. So
I'm
take your
gonna-
pick, really.
You get the big award. Close that screen.
Can you see me?
No, your video seems to be off.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
There
there
you
we
are.
go.
And I have your material if you want me to screen share at some point.
Oh, am I meant to be looking over here? I got it.
The video
Hello?
kind of jumped. Are you all right now? Yeah, we see you.
I'm okay. I'm okay. We good?
Yeah. And I said, if you didn't hear me, I have your page. So whenever you want me to screen share, let me know.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna do that at the very end, and
Okay.
I can even email it to everybody as well. So, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so whoever's keeping time on this, you can turn it on whenever you feel comfortable doing that. First of all, it's great to see all of you. We're having a fantastic day of learning here. There were about 90 people in person at the congregation, and we are delighted that you are joining us by Zoom. We are so excited with this collaboration between TKAE and IJKL. We really feel it makes all of us stronger. I probably haven't had an opportunity to study with too many of you, so let me tell you a little bit about myself and the kind of subjects that I'm really interested in learning about. I've been the cantor of this congregation. This is my 30th year. And I've had very good Botox, so don't be too alarmed. And I became a rabbi from AJR, Academy of Jewish Religion, 2 years ago. So I'm the cantor here, and I'm also a rabbi. And the subjects that I'm most interested in are things which impact us on a daily or on a regular basis, or global issues, and looking at these things through the lens of Judaism, from the Torah to the Mishnah to the Talmud to the Rishonim, the Acharonim, to the great commentators, the medieval commentators, Rashi, Rashbam, Ibn Ezra, Tosfot, all of those, and contemporary commentators as well. So typically in the classes that I hold, I love to encourage participation, questions, anecdotes, disagreements. But today, probably what we're going to need to do is you're going to not have, probably, I'll be honest with you, not a great opportunity to do that, just because we have 20 minutes, and probably by now I have 18 minutes left. I know, Scott, you're going to tell me about that. So hopefully at the end we'll have time for questions, but if we don't, then I'm looking forward to have other opportunities with you where we'll have more than just 20 minutes. The theme of today is what's love got to do with it? or the connection between love and Judaism, love and God. And of course, it's a huge, huge topic, which Kim decided upon. And if Kim decides upon a topic, I was not about to argue with her. And in her wisdom, it's a very good idea because it's really given everybody an opportunity to talk about things which really resonate with them. So when I was thinking about love and Judaism, I was like, oh, well, that's easy. I just got married in this very sanctuary about 3 months ago. Maybe I'll talk about romantic love and family love, through the lens of Judaism. But immediately, occurred to me that that may not be the best use of this time, because my mom actually passed away. Another love of my life passed away just a couple of months prior to me getting married in March. And thinking about those two different kinds of love, the loss of a loved one is unfortunately something that each of us grapple with. I'm sure we have grappled with it, or inevitably we will all grapple with loss. So what I would like to do today, for the time that we have remaining, is to talk about love and loss, and to look at it from the prospect of psychological levels of grief, and compare those to the periods of loss, the structure of loss that we have in Judaism. There are 5 stages of grief, which were first coined by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in 1968. You may be familiar with them. They are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And even though we're given these 5 periods, stages of grief, they don't necessarily follow chronologically, and you can be in the 3rd level, let's say, in bargaining, but then you can go back to denial again. So it's just really more of a sense of these 5 stages of grief. In Judaism, we also have 5 periods of loss. The first is aninut, which literally means under pressure, which is from death until burial. The second period is Shiva, which is the first 7 days after burial. And then there's the Shloshim, the first 30 days after burial, and then the first year, if it's for parents. And then finally, after a year, an unveiling at your site, the anniversary of the death of a loved one. And what I would like to demonstrate is that with each of these stages of grief, they parallel, more or less, the 5 periods of loss that we have in Judaism. So the first stage of grief is denial. And I remember it was a number of years ago now that I called a member of our congregation. His father had just passed away, and he answered the phone. And I realized very quickly that he was in the middle of some kind of a sports stadium at a game of some kind. And he very quickly said to me, oh, yes, my dad, he was this old and we expected it. And it just seemed like it was a very quick conversation. He really didn't want to talk to me, and we were off the phone probably in 30 seconds. It was a month later that I saw him in the sanctuary sobbing his eyes out. And it occurred to me that he had experienced exactly that first stage of grief, denial. And the first period of loss in Judaism is called aninut, from death until burial. And during aninut, a mourner is exempt from various mitzvot, including saying certain blessings, including putting tefillin on. And I think that the point of this is it puts a big stop sign. Things are not okay. Maybe in your mind, you've gone to a place where things are okay, but that is not the case. Judaism says to us, no, stop where you are. It also allows additional time to make arrangements that you need to make for the burial of somebody and what will follow. The second stage of grief is anger. And today in most synagogues, we have that little ribbon that you put on. You put a little cut in the ribbon. You say, "Oh, this is the cut that we feel in our heart." But no, that's not really the case. What Jewish people have been doing since time immemorial is when you hear bad news, the first thing you're meant to do is you're meant to tear your clothing. You're meant to wart your clothing. And when you feel anger, when you hear that sound of tearing, that's angry. That is a wart emotion. The shiver, which is that second stage of grief, I would opine, that is the time that we are meant to experience whatever emotion we need to experience. The thing you're not meant to do at a shiva, by the way, is go up to the person who is mourning and tell them a joke to try and take their pain away. Absolutely not. Traditionally, you're not even really meant to engage with the person until they engage with you. Well, maybe society is different now, and that could be seen as being rude. But what you're meant to do is you're meant to give them space to tell you where they are emotionally. The comments like, "Oh, it's going to be okay," or "Oh, he's in a better place," or "Oh, look at all of the blessings that you have." No, we're meant to listen. The shiva is a time when people are given that opportunity to express their emotions, to feel their emotions, whether it is anger or whether it is sadness or anything else in between. The next period is bargaining. And I think this corresponds to the shloshim, the first 30 days after burial. Well, for a parent, it's really the first year after burial. And how many of us have regrets when we lose somebody dear to us? It is during this time that our tradition tells us to offer additional psalms, additional prayers. And it's often the time that when we pray, when we converse with God, we are actually bargaining with God. We are bargaining with God. I know that when my mom passed, I felt tremendous guilt because I had, for many years, allotted the time that it took for me to get from home to the temple on a Friday morning. That was my call to my mom. She lived in London. Lived in London. And when I lived at one part in the east side of town, that could be 25 minutes. Then I moved to close to the temple. It was 7 minutes. I given my mom 7 minutes a week. And rightfully so, I felt a tremendous amount of guilt about that. So I started bargaining with God, or maybe with the memory of my mom. What would she want me to do that would somehow compensate, or at least take that guilt a little bit away from me? And that is part of what is given to us in this period of the Shloshim, with the recitation of additional psalms. Even the words of the Kaddish are words of bargaining. Well, the idea of the Kaddish is, in a way, bargaining. When people say, "What happens after you die?" What does Judaism say happens after you die? There's a plethora of opinions on that, as you can imagine. Certainly not 20 minutes. But one of the opinions is that if you're a thoroughly good person, you go straight to Olam Haba, the next world, everything is beautiful, done. If you're a thoroughly terrible person through and through, you go to a place called Gehinnom, purgatory, some would say, where through a very painful process, your soul is cleansed from the terrible things that you've done. But for everybody else who's in the middle, which by the way is everybody, because nobody's totally good or totally evil, there's this entire year where you are under consideration by God. So the idea is that as you are under consideration by God, your relatives who are still alive are saying the words of the Kaddish as if to, on your behalf, as if to give you those few extra mitzvot, the few extra points that will put you over the edge, and you can go to the next world. You can go to the Olam Haba. That's a kind of bargaining as well. You think about it, that is your bargaining with God. You're bargaining on behalf of the person that you've lost. By the way, kind of funny that the shiva is actually the Kaddish is actually not said for an entire year. It is said for 11 months. And the reason that people say Kaddish only for 11 months and not 12 months is as if to say, it's kind of funny in a way, the person that I'm mourning, they were such a good person, they don't need the whole 12 months. 11 months is good enough. 11 months is good enough for the person that I'm mourning. 11 months is plenty. The next stage of grief is depression. And in my experience, it seems that sometimes, during the Shiva, during those early days of loss, there's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of activity going on. People coming in, people are maybe visitors or family from out of town. You're getting texts, you're getting messages, you're getting calls of condolence, you're getting food, you're getting notes. There's a lot of activity going on. It's after that time when the rest of the world is kind of like, okay, they go back to whatever they're doing. We're all busy, we have a million things going on, but you are still left with that loss. How many times have we been about to pick up the phone to call the person we've lost, and like, oh, guess I'm not making that call. That can be the time when the depression sets in. But it's during that time, for that first whole year, when we are not meant to attend parties, we're not meant to go to the theater or celebrations. And perhaps the idea behind this is that somebody calls you, hey, let's go see the show. And you're like, oh no, I can't go. Oh, you busy that night? No, I'm in mourning. And the person immediately says, oh my goodness, yes, of course. How are you doing? It's not just a reminder for us, but it is a reminder for the rest of the world, the rest of our circle, that we are still in mourning, and to not forget about us, to not allow us to be in that depressed mode for too long. And then finally, we get to the last stage of grief. And this is acceptance. Perhaps it's after this year when we've been saying the words of the Kaddish that we truly start to accept the reality in a deeper way. If you've ever looked at the words of the Kaddish, it's called the mourner's Kaddish. There's nothing mourning about the Kaddish. The words of the Kaddish are not words of mourning. the words of the Kaddish, how great and magnified is God. God is amazing. God is this. God is that. Difficult words to say. Impossible words to say maybe when we're experiencing the loss of a child, God forbid. It's still difficult to say no matter what, because we always wish for, couldn't we have another year? This person was old, but one more year would have been nice. 2 more years, couldn't we have? But what do the words of the Kaddish essentially say to us? They're saying God is great and it is God's decision. Man plans and God laughs. There are things which are beyond us. There are things which are beyond our understanding and things which are beyond our control. And death is certainly one of those things. The words of the Kaddish at their core are words of acceptance. And then at the end of the year, what do? Typically, we have that unveiling. We go to the place where our loved one is literally buried. And we see a marker with their name on it. What could be more in the realm of reality than being there a year after? What could push us to accept this reality more than actually being there a year later? So I hope this has provided some ideas of how the 5 stages of grief coined in 1968 were really part of our tradition for thousands of years prior to that time. And in summary, how the objective of Judaism is to allow us, to encourage us to go through those stages, to have those feelings so that we can move from mourning to life. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Mark. You ended right on time.
My pleasure, and it is really an honor. I'm really the point person at Colony for IJKL, and if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, anything whatsoever, my email or my number or call the temple, I'm more than happy to talk and to learn from each of you as well. We have a scholar in residence with Rabbi Jeff Siegelman, February 7th and February 8th. So you'll be hearing more about that if any of you are able to be here. And Rabbi Jeff was actually one of my teachers at AJR's as well. And, he's a phenomenal teacher. Thank you all so much for being with us. Is there anything else, Scott, that we need to do?
Just everyone who wants to stay should stay in the room. They will switch us over to the room where the ceremony for Kim will be, I think in just a very short.
A very short period of time. I'm going to run over there right now. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Do you want to pause the recording?
I will do that.
One last time. Sing together.
Nine, 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 nine. Very, I'm gonna light on you light in me. Or Hadash, very, I'm gonna light on you light. Close to 25 years ago. How many years ago? 26. 20, oh my God. 26. Gematria for God. 26 years ago. Him and IJKL decided to light a light. That light lit our hearts, ignited our minds, and took our spirits on a journey of lifetime. So today, we come here surrounded with love for the journey that we have co-created together, that Kim has ignited in all of our hearts. And with a new candle, because this candle is the type of candle, as Rabbi Akiva would say, that when you take that light and you light it to another candle, doesn't extinguish the first light. It only doubles the light. So today, as we pass the torch, and we light the Havdalah candle, and we look at that braid, we braid all of the moments, all of the memories, all of the learning, all of the connection, all of the friendship, into a new candle. The candle that's part of what we have co-created, and the candle that is going to create new light. Or Hadash Belief. Hadash Belief. I'm gonna light a new light in me. Or Hadash Belief. I'm gonna light a new light. So we sing it together one last time. This new light at Colony, bringing new friends together with friends that have been lighting lights for 26 years. Or Hadash Belief.
Shavua Tov. It's nice to see so many faces that I know and many others that I do not know. I would like to say two things. First of all, a miracle happened today, a very special miracle. 4 rabbis taught a class in less than 20 minutes, and we finished on time. That's a very important miracle, maybe as important as splitting the Sea of Reeds. But don't get this idea to put as a timer for our sermons of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, okay? That is a good idea for a speed learning event, but the 2 minutes one,
We are here to learn and to celebrate all these 26 years of IJKL, and also this moment of transition, this moment of IJKL becoming a part of our adult education program here at Temple Colony EmanuEl physically, but continue to delivering many shiurim, many classes online. And when I was thinking about this day, this very special day, there's a verse in the book of Kohelet, in the book of Ecclesiastes, that says that the sun sets and a new sun rises. And the rabbis in the Midrash, they ask themselves, that's evident. Everybody knows. Every day there's a sun that sets and then a new sun that arises. And usually the Torah, the Tanakh, comes to teach us things that are not evident. So they say that God does not allow a light to go out of this world without creating a new light beforehand. That's why they say that Rivka, the second matriarch of the Jewish people, was born just when Sarah was about to die. And the rabbis in the Midrash, they talk about many rabbis that before they died, a new rabbi or future rabbi was born. So the world is without a light, not for a single moment. And I think that in some way or another, this Midrash resonated with me, and this transition between lights and lights, between a sun and another sun that we are celebrating and commemorating this afternoon. And Rabbi Akiva, together with him, they founded IJKL 26 years ago. And for different reasons, a son that was Rabbi Akiva with all his teaching, he died a few months ago. And we happened to be together with Kim in Israel when that happened. And le'avdil, lechaim, separating Kim for many more years of life. At the same time that was happening, also, more grandchildren were being born to Kim in LA, and she wanted to go to the next phase of her life. But this transition of IJKL couldn't have been possible if a new light that was kindled a couple of years ago when Kim became part of Temple Kolamim, when we connected personally with Kim 2.5 years ago, when I came to be here, the senior rabbi of Kolamim, there was like a transition, a moment in the life of Rabbi Akiva, in the moment of the life of Kim, that was going to the next part of the journey, and a new light was being born. So we came just at the right moment for both lights to be shining at the same time and allowing this beautiful transition that we are celebrating this afternoon. And at this moment, I would like to invite Rabbi Jeff Silverman, one of the faculty of IJKL for many years, to share some words.
Yeshut Harav. I met Kim at a retreat at Isabella Friedman. We had come to study Kabbalah with Danny Matt and Zen meditation with the late Bernie Glassman of Zen Peacekeepers. I had expected that the studies and the practices of the retreat would be transformational, and they were. What I didn't expect was how my life would be transformed by meeting Kim. In the years that followed, I learned about IJKL and what a remarkable center of Jewish learning Kim had created. She introduced me to the teachings of her partner and her Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, she would send me the notes that she took from his class, and we would discuss them at great length. And Kim became my teacher, and she truly opened up new worlds for my soul. As time went on, I learned more about IJKL and some of the other classes and the Passover Seder and the high holiday services and the amazing trips to Israel. In 2020, I retired from a long and wonderful ride in the pulpit rabbinate. And to my good fortune, Kim invited me to teach a class. Under normal circumstances, this wouldn't have been possible because I live in Manhattan. But we were in the midst of COVID and everything was on Zoom. And so I began to teach the Friday morning Parsha class and some holiday mini courses. And that's when I recognized the real greatness of IJKL. Kim was bringing together hundreds of people, lifelong learners from far and wide, and teachers from all over the world to explore ideas of Jewish spiritual life. Relationships were being made, and souls were truly being transformed. You may know that Kim's Hebrew name is Shalva. Shalva often appears in Hebrew next to the word shalom, shalom v'shalva. Shalom, of course, means peace. Shalva, on the other hand, means harmony. All of these people from different places, with different ideas, with different worldviews, different voices through IJKL, singing together to create a sound that none of us would have been able to make on our own. Kim Shalva has really created a harmony of souls at IJKL. And we owe Kim a great debt of gratitude for what she's given to us. But I want to say personally that I will never be able to express my true thanks for giving me the opportunity to teach Torah here after my retirement. I will conclude with this. You all know Kim. We know that she is very gracious and very giving and very smart. But I'm not sure that IJKL was the result of her mind. IJKL was about her soul. The Kabbalists speak of a great need to have something called Ratzon L'Kabel. Ratzon L'Kabel means to have a will to receive. It's a willingness to open our soul and ourselves to become vessels. Only with Ratzon L'Kabel can the transformative sparks of Judaism enter us in a way that will bring light to our lives. And so tonight we thank Kim for teaching us by example, by being our role model. She taught us how to step out of our own complacent comfort zones and acquire a Ratzon L'Kabel, a desire to be a vessel to receive. And then through IJKL, she provided us the words of Torah and the teachings that would fill us and inspire us. I know you join me, all of you, in a blessing that God should bless Kim and her family with many years of good health. May you continue to learn and to teach and to be a blessing for all of us. Oh, I didn't know where the thing was coming.
Thank you very much.
Did I go out of it? I didn't go out of it.
You're perfect. Rabbi Jeffers happens to be my teacher at the Academy of Jewish Religion, and it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm EmanuEl, and mark your calendars for February 7th and 8th. We will be having a Shabbat song here featuring our scholar in residence, Rabbi Jeffrey Sion. And we're very excited. And to say some words on behalf of Jewish Federation of Broward County, it's my pleasure to call upon our colleague, Rabbi Pond.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute honor to be here. Kim, you have been at my side for 1/4 of my professional career, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey, always an interesting journey. Interesting is a euphemism for everything from you challenging me to be the best that I could be and me challenging right back. But we have been through some things together at Orloff Sage, at Jewish Federation. You accompanied us on March of the Living along with a group from IJKL. We've been at each other's side for quite a long time, and it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor. I want to mention someone named Yehoshua ben Gamla. Yehoshua ben Gamla was a guy who almost out of nowhere came to become the high priest during the time of the Second Temple. He leveraged some wealth and some connections through his wife to become the high priest. He was a high priest for a relatively short amount of time. And if we were to look at his doing high priest stuff, unremarkable. But he did something very remarkable that wasn't a part of the job description. According to the rabbis of the Talmud, were it not for the innovations he made in making Jewish education available to all, universal Jewish education, the Torah, we are taught, would have been forgotten from all Israel. Kim, you came from out of nowhere and became a leader of adult Jewish learning in this community. I think it is fair to say, and you and I know exactly what I'm talking about, that were it not for you and IJKL, adult Jewish learning in this community could have very easily fallen into the background and fallen into history. But because you were persistent, you became the Yehoshua ben Gamla, without whom adult Jewish learning would have ceased to be the force that it is. Thank you so much for your gift. And it is a pleasure to know that we now at Federation have a new partner with our friends here at EmanuEl, while continuing the partnership with you and IJKL. May it continue together for many, many years. And once again, thank you, Kim, for the privilege. Thank you to IJKL and to all of you who have participated in the IJKL learning. And thanks to our friends, Uri, Mark, and the leadership in this entire congregation. May you go from strength to strength.
Kim, of course, I've known you and your family for the better part of 30 years, since we were both 3 years old. But it has been so amazing and such an inspiration working with you towards this beautiful event. And even though you may officially be retiring from IJKL, anybody that knows you knows that you were not retiring, and you still will be the integral part of IJKL as we move forward together. And we're looking forward to many, many more times with you, and with your soul, with your vision.
Wow. I wasn't supposed to be crying. Thank you for all those words. Rav Jeff, thank you for leaving the holy land of the Upper West Side of New York to be here for this. To begin with, I need to make a clarification. I am rightfully the co-founder of the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning. IJKL was founded together with Rabbi Akiva D. Mann, now of blessed memory. But truthfully, I don't feel like co-founder either really explains the actual creation of IJKL. IJKL grew organically after Rabbi Akiva suggested that we create a Jewish Educational Institute. What I knew about creating a 501c3, I don't know why he had the faith in me that that could happen, but I wanted to take classes with him. We incorporated as the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning scheduled classes. And then I began to see people that wanted to take classes with him. Maybe sometimes there was a little coercion involved. I look out and I know that it wasn't necessarily on the top of your mind that this was something that you wanted to do. I would meet teachers outside of Florida, and if I connected with them, I wanted to introduce them to my Rebbe. For instance, on a Melton Israel seminar, Zohar Raviv was my seminar leader. And I knew that I wanted him to meet Rabbi Akiva. When I returned to Florida and I told Rabbi Akiva about Zohar, we thought, why not create a Shabbaton to bring him here? And from that idea and meeting, our Israel journeys were born. I met Rabbi David Ingber of Romamu at a retreat, and the IJKL Sunshine Shabbaton was born. And of course, we have Torah study with Rav Jeff. But it might come as a surprise to know that I was not raised in an observant Jewish family, but rather a very secular, culturally strong family. And yes, I grew up on Long Island, but we didn't live in a Jewish neighborhood and we didn't belong to a synagogue. But somehow I knew that I was Jewish. Maybe because my mother really made it a point that I was supposed to marry a nice Jewish boy. And I did. But somehow I knew nothing about Judaism. And then one day, about 30 years ago, my husband announces that Temple Kol Ami is having an open house on Sunday and that we were going. It came so far out of left field that I said to him, when did you get to be such a religious fanatic? You want to join a temple? And the next thing I knew, our 4-year-old and 6-year-old daughters, Hannah and Molly, were enrolled in the Temple Kol Ami religious school. And as long as we were members, I started going to Shabbat morning Torah study. And then I realized that I needed to learn Aleph Bet if I wanted to understand the subtle insights of the Torah. So this, of course, led to an adult bat mitzvah, obviously. And then I became the sisterhood co-chair of programming. But I still hadn't found what I was looking for. The sisterhood board agreed that they wanted me to find a spiritual program for the next meeting. And so then I happened upon is code in Hasidic stories that means a miracle happened. I happened upon Rabbi Akiva Mann of blessed memory, and Rabbi Akiva was the rabbi at the Hallandale Jewish Center. I remember sitting in his office as he sat silently across from me, listening deeply into the words that I said, as well as the words that I didn't know to ask. And to those of you who had the blessing of sitting across from him, you know exactly what I mean. But finally, he looked at me saying that I was not the first person to feel this knocking upon my heart. And I didn't even know that it was a knocking upon my heart that I was feeling until the minute he said it, and I knew exactly what he said, what he meant and what he saw. And he explained to me that the great sages, masters, mystics, and rabbis had come before us and placed guideposts along the way for us to follow. He said that he would show me these guideposts to help me find my own way. And it turns out that I am not the only one that hears this knocking. It turns out that there are a lot of us. And for 26 years, IJKL has been offering insights and directions to these guideposts. And along the way, we built a community of students and seekers, friends, and companions on the journey. I tried to make a bullet point of the most important guideposts that I could share these with you, but the list just kept getting longer and longer. And then each bullet point was a four-part course. And if we took classes with Rabbi Akiva, a 4-part course was actually 6-part, 8-part. Each part had a life of its own. So instead of giving you a long list, I decided to approach this by sharing some of my personal experiences. I learned that it is possible to bring transcendence into my relationships with family, friends, the world, and in nature. Transcendence feels like you are beyond yourself. Transcendence is the feeling of holding a grandchild. Transcendence is the feeling of experiencing the Grand Canyon. And then Rabbi Akiva taught us to be able to translate and recognize this feeling and own it on an average Tuesday. Ellie is here, his son. Did you ever hear him talk about the average Tuesday? Maybe once? Rabbi Akiva said all the time, the essence of a person is the spark of the divine, mamish. And he embodied that truth in every way. Watching him was a lesson in how to give someone your undivided attention and deepest compassion. He showed us what it meant to be humble, and in all the time I knew him, I never saw him angry. Rabbi Akiva opened a spiritual path into Judaism for me, one that allowed me to answer the knocking upon my heart with joy. His teachings continue to guide me and help me live with more presence and fulfillment. And IJKL is the proof that I am not the only one. Over the years, IJKL has gone through times of growth and transformation. In 2017, Arnie, is that right? 2017, more or less? We never know these things. Rabbi Arnie Samlin, now the Chief Jewish Education Officer at the Broward Federation, invited IJKL to assume the leadership of the Sage Adult Education Program. With this new role, IJKL became the official provider of adult education in Broward County, expanding our faculty and programming both in size and diversity. It's the IJKL faculty and the students that make IJKL so exceptional and so inspirational. And then came the COVID years. Even as lockdown was just beginning, IJKL pivoted to Zoom, teaching our community how to sign in and to navigate the platform, many of whom might have identified as technophobes. And we brought all of them into the Zoom world. And I'm so proud of that offering. We introduced our ClassPass program, offering access to more than 15 classes a week. Our classes range from Kabbalah and mysticism to armchair travel through Prague and Morocco, and of course, the Sunday night IJKL prayer room with student Rabbi Laura Lennis. And thank you for the opening. Laura moved mountains to be here to share in this. Each morning, we eagerly checked the morning report to see what was going to be on IJKL TV for the day. Our Zoom programming not only saved many of us from fear, anxiety, and boredom, but kept us connected in a way that was deeply meaningful and loving. And through Zoom, we fell in love with Karen Cohen in Louisville, who serves as an IJKL ambassador, and I am always grateful for that. I plan to take my emeritus status very seriously and will work very closely with Rabbi Mark to keep planning great. Did I skip that? Okay. Just checking. Sorry. Very seriously to keep planning great learning and spiritual experiences for us. I will be more and more going back and forth to California, but Kol Ami is my home synagogue, and Zoom crosses the country as if we're next door. I cannot imagine a better home for IJKL than here at Temple Kol Ami in EmanuEl, where I began my Jewish journey. When Rabbi Ori became the senior rabbi here, it was immediately clear that his commitment to adult education and his passion for teaching would be the cornerstone of all TKAE programming. His enthusiasm for all that IJKL offered was evident from the start, and it's been such a privilege to see our shared passion for learning come to life in this community. I'm frequently asked, how do I feel about giving up IJKL, putting it up for adoption? Kim, they say, it's your baby. But Rabbi Mark, working with you to organize the leadership transition and this amazing speed learning event has been such a pleasure and a reassurance that this is truly a match made in heaven for the sake of heaven. I have perfect faith that with you and Rabbi Ori leading the way, IJKL's legacy will not only continue to grow, but it will thrive and it will flourish. I am so proud and grateful that I have had the gift to work with and to love the IJKL faculty, Rabbi David Paskin, Rabbi Jeffrey Siegelman, Dr. Sandra Lilienthal, and Rabbi Amy Pesa. Don't forget to be signing up for their classes. There are in-person classes and there are Zoom classes. Be in touch with the temple if you don't have the brochure. It is truly wonderful that they are all going to remain with IJKL as we add Rabbi Ori and Rabbi Mark to the teaching programs. But so much to my precious family. I know that it may have felt at times like I was always immersed in IJKL. And truthfully, there were many times that was true. But Barry, Hannah, and Molly, I can only hope that my love of learning and the wisdom that I have pursued has in some way enriched your lives too. You supported me every step of the way, and I love you beyond measure. Adult education at TKAE, powered by IJKL, mamish, it's a gewalt. Thank you.
Now is the moment of transition. And when we finish Shabbat, we do the Abdallah. And if we do not do it Saturday night, we have until Tuesday night to do it. So some of you did not do Abdallah this week. Who haven't done Abdallah yet? So this is the time to do the Abdallah to mark the transition of Shabbat to the rest of the week of IJKL under King's leadership to Temple Kol Ami EmanuEl under the guidance of Rabbi Mark and myself and all of you. And usually when we do the Abdallah, we say Ben Kodesh Lechol.
between what is holy, the Shabbat, and what is profane, the rest of the week. And we are going to say these words, but this transition is bein kodesh lekodesh, from something holy to something holy. So I will invite Maya. You see that light that is over there? The light, the little light? Turn it off. Let's see if it works. No. Try others. Let's see when we are able to turn off the light. Oh, good. We're doing progress. Please rise. And I will invite Rabbi Beth, Rabbi Army, Rabbi David is here, Rabbi Laura is here for Avdala. We are in the month of Lul. So we are going to blow the shofar to prepare ourselves for this Rosh Hashanah and this new Yom Kippur. The sounding of the shofar in our tradition is also the sound when we start marching. When we start our journey, we sound the shofar, and we will arrive to our destination. We also sound the shofar. You came?
Thank you so much for joining us. Join us for dinner right behind you in our holy room.
If somebody wants to pray the evening prayer, married, and do not do all the lines that is going to be there, if they want to join us, We will be praying married here, and then we will go for dinner. If not, go for dinner. No.
Scott,
Well, I guess they said goodnight to us.
yes,
And I will say goodnight to all of you and thank you
yes,
for coming. And it was lovely, even though we couldn't hear everyone.
oh yeah, wonderful. It was wonderful being all together too.
Looks like they're going to dinner, so maybe we should do the same. Good night, everybody. Thanks for
Night.
coming. See you soon.